daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello, you are listening to the daily Liverpool podcast on the Global Sports Podcast Network. It's just me and Tom today, the two sorry boys. Tom, good to have you here on a very boring occasion because there's no football to talk about because it's the international breaks. Are you bored or do you enjoy watching these
Absolutely not.
Moldova games?
I hate the international break, to be honest with you. I just think we have that long summer with no football. I know the Club World Cup was on, but we're not counting that. And then you come back for 3 game weeks and it's like off they go for 2 weeks again. I hate it. And then they go again in October. And then do they go again in November? I'm pretty sure.
I don't know, and I don't care.
I know when it's an international break because my birthday's on the 6th of September, so there's never any football on. There's always an international break since I was young. So it's a bit of a boring time to this week of football.
I'll tell you what, in a few days we'll do a birthday celebration episode for Tom Goward, courtesy of GSPN. How about that?
Brilliant.
Where we talk about Curtis Jones for a full hour.
That'd be great. That is my ideal podcast.
Unfortunately, I mean, I used to love the international break because I used to go to all the England matches. I live in London, so it's just a tube away. But when it's games like Andorra and it's happening in Villa Park because they know that they wouldn't be able to sell out Wembley, and then they've got another match over in Serbia, you just don't have any interest, really. You just kind of want to see, players like Joe Gomez, see if they get into the team and see how they fare in international football. But ultimately, it's just the World Cup and the Euros and maybe at a push the Nations League that you're looking forward to when it comes to England, from my perspective.
Can we just point out quickly, just so we're talking about Liverpool players in the England squad, how Curtis, I know there's a running joke on here, but no, I'm going to say something good about him.
Okay.
How
Okay,
Curtis Jones has not been called up to the England squad, and Ruben Loftus-Cheek has. I don't watch much of him, but surely Jones is slightly better.
Loftus-Cheek is a great player. I'm not going to discredit him at all, but I did see Curtis Jones in the England team against Ireland, I believe. I can't remember when that was. It was either this year or last year, and he was great in that midfield. Absolutely terrific. Just sliced the Irish midfield apart. Anyway, we're talking about international football quite a lot. Let's talk about Liverpool now, with the very limited news coming out about Liverpool. I'd say the big one today is Chiesa, and it's for the wrong reasons, unfortunately, because this season we've started to see a little bit more of Federico Chiesa, and suddenly he's now not in the Champions League squad. So this is a difficult one because we've just got Isak in, and he plays in a pretty similar role to Chiesa, because Chiesa came on when Ekitike wasn't finishing the match, and he would sort of play as a striker for a bit. Are you at all worried about Federico Chiesa's role in this future Liverpool team?
No, not really. I think for the Champions League, I think I read that obviously you have to have the homegrown players, isn't it? And obviously we've included Gamora, Dans, and Nuonyi. So,
Nioni.
Nioni. Sorry, yeah. Yes, I believe that's the reason. But no, I'm not worried at all. Look, he barely played a role last season, right? He's somehow managed to stay this season. If that's through his choice or through Slot's choice, I'm not sure. Obviously, he got that goal against Bournemouth, which sort of helped him maybe a little bit. But I don't think Chiesa's winning us the Champions League. Do you know what I mean? So as much as I like him and stuff, I don't think it's going to be a massive loss in terms of our Champions League run.
With regards to Chiesa, I feel like a lot of his criticism comes from him not settling into the Premier League yet. I know he hasn't had much of a chance. I mean, I don't think he's ever even started a match for Liverpool in the Premier League. Maybe 1 or 2, but he usually comes on with 10 minutes to go, or when we have a bit of a shortage up front, as we have had this season before we got Isak. And this sort of environment where we are playing European football, in this case against Atletico Madrid, where in La Liga they play a bit more slowly, and Atletico Madrid particularly are quite defensive and play on the counter attack. And I think when you've just got more time on the ball as you would have playing against Simeone's Atleti, I feel like this would have benefited Chiesa. You know,
Yeah,
it's weird.
potentially. Yeah, you make a good point potentially, but I think also we've there's just a lot of we've just got too many better players now ahead of him. With
Yeah,
the
it's true.
with Isak coming in, I think with that slower play, I think Wirtz will do well. You know, we've seen Wirtz proven in the Champions League, won multiple Man of the Match award, Player of the Match awards in the Champions League. So, you know, that sort of format might suit him a bit better. He's not had the best of starts at Liverpool in the Premier League, but there's a long way to go yet for the rest of the season for Wirtz. But like I said, Chiesa wasn't going to be the guy that was going to make or break our Champions League campaign. Yes, of course, you want to see everyone included, but we can only take 22 players, and unfortunately, you know, we've left out a guy who barely paid for us last year and cost £13 million. So, you know,
Mm.
it's sad, but it's not the end of the world, to be honest with you.
But three goalkeepers,
Mm.
for a Champions League game, and you can't have someone who um, would be beneficial in this sort of game, in my opinion. I mean, we can go around in circles talking about is he good enough? Is there just too much competition? And yes, there is very, very healthy competition in this new Liverpool team with the attacking prowess that we have. But it's strange because I don't get it. 22 players for the Champions League squad. Has it always been 22? Because I thought it used to be a 25-man squad. Is
Yeah,
that?
I think it's come down, isn't it? It looked
It
like
must have
less
come
names
down.
on the sheet, but the three goalkeepers. I guess we haven't had Alisson's yearly injury yet. You know that he
Mm.
sort of picks up some point during the season, so you know maybe they're just preparing that Alisson picks up, and then of course if your then backup keeper gets injured or is sent off or whatever, you need to.
That's such a hypothetical, though.
I know, but like if it's going to happen, right, it probably will happen at Liverpool. So,
Yeah, yeah.
um, yeah, three keepers is a strange one, but I can see why they've done it. But maybe Kaiser, you know, not being in the Champions League squad means that we're going to see more of him in the league and the cup competitions. You know,
Mhm.
we've got Saints in the first round or you know the third round of the League Cup. He's probably going to play in that. We might have an
Yeah,
easy FA Cup couple of fixtures. You know, maybe he'll play in the lesser Premier League games. You know, I'm talking like playing sort of bottom half teams. Maybe not starting, like you said. I can't recall him starting in the Premier League. He might have done, like you said, once or twice, but so maybe we'll just see more of him in elsewhere. You know, it's just because he's been left out of Champions League squad doesn't mean we're never going to see him
yeah. I know what
again.
you mean, and it's a good rule in my opinion that teams can only have 17 non-homegrown players in their team. Speaking of a homegrown player that we have just gotten rid of, Harvey Elliott. Obviously, he's on loan at Villa. With an obligation to buy for 35 million, but there is a buyback clause in his contract upon signing for Aston Villa. So that is, I know you're a big fan of Harvey Elliott. That's got to be great news and an extra sense of security in that for sure.
100%. I was a bit happier seeing that today, seeing that news. It'd be interesting to know what that figure is, the buyback clause figure. But like 35 million maybe is a little less. I think, you know, if you look at some of the other players that sort of left, you know, sort of made moves this summer, like James McAtee and Amari Hutchinson and players like that that played in the under 20 ones
Yeah,
or the 23s, and they went for similar prices. I'd like to think Harvey Elliott's a bit better than that and had way more experience in the Premier League. So 35 million, I feel, is a little tad bit low if you base it off that. However, it's still
yeah,
35
I
million
agree.
for a young player. And if there's a buyback in there, even if it's 30 million or 35 million, I don't
I
know
mean,
what the figure is,
if
but
Noni Madueka's 50 million, then surely
Yeah,
Harvey Elliott is even more than that, in my opinion, because he's a far better player. Not
yeah,
to mention that Fulham just signed Shakhtar Donetsk left winger Kevin for 40 million.
yeah.
Someone
There
we've
we go.
never heard of, someone who plays in the Ukrainian league. Not to mention Chelsea signed another Ukrainian player for 80 million, and he's dreadful and now has been done for doping offences. So
Yeah,
you know, 35 million is peanuts when it comes to top quality talent, especially someone as young as Harvey Elliott, who was the best player of the under 23s Euros tournament in any team. Um, so yeah, it's a weird one for me, but I'm glad to see that there is a buyback clause in there for him, especially with his versatility as well. He can play in a number 10, he can play on the right wing, and he can score goals, he can assist. He doesn't give the ball away too often. Very good in tight spaces, and he will be a huge move for Aston Villa for sure. And obviously, never forget when Harvey Elliott was he refused to meet Sergio Ramos because
Mm.
he didn't like what he did to
Yeah,
Salah. That's
exactly.
a man who loves Liverpool.
Exactly. And I think as well, don't forget Salah is not going to be there probably beyond the next 2 years. If Harvey sees him in that right wing area, if that's where he thinks he'll play, obviously he's a completely different player to Salah, not as quick. But go and smash it for 2 years at Villa, and then we'll buy him back. Do you know what I mean? Buy him back. Salah's gone. There
Hmm.
might be, he's got 2 solid years of first team proper football in the Premier League for a side that are playing European football as well this year. Don't forget. So he's still got that element. And then he can come back when he's 24, 25. And then, he's still signing for 6 years at 25. It sounds crazy,
I'm
doesn't it,
just
considering he's here for so
yeah,
long?
I'm just trying to work out who would stand in his way of starting in that team because I don't really know if there's anyone that plays in his exact position at Villa because he's sort of number 10 role and they was it maybe to replace Jacob Ramsey maybe because
Yeah,
they gave him a
potentially. Obviously, you got Morgan Rogers
yeah,
there.
but he's more on the left hand side.
Yeah,
Harvey's more
yeah,
on
I
the right
reckon
hand
you're right.
side.
I reckon you're right. I reckon Jacob Ramsey is probably the replacement. And obviously, they've got Sancho in as well. They needed a left.
Oh
They needed a
goodness, yeah,
left winger and
completely
Lindelof
forgot
as
about
well.
Sancho.
Yeah. So
But
no,
it's
Villa sort of had an
not a bad
interesting
window
time.
actually for Aston
Yeah.
Villa,
Well, they needed to have one, didn't they? I mean, they're struggling. They're
big time.
second bottom of the league in the 3 games. So, um, yeah,
Yeah, they did.
interesting.
They really did, and they need more depth after going into European football
Hmm.
again. Um, I wanted to talk more about the Champions League squad. I mean, while Chiesa misses out, on the flip side of that, Rio and Gamora is in. Um, is that a big confidence boost for someone who's just turned 17 years old to be included in a Champions League squad, despite the fact that they needed him for homegrown quota?
Yeah, I think he's in there for his talent, not for that reason. I mean, that boy must be pinching himself. He makes his Premier League debut, he scores, he turns 17, he signs his professional deal, and now he's in the Champions League squad. Traveling to the likes of Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid are coming to us. He's going away to we've got Galatasaray and Marseille. So some hostile stadiums that will really show his test of character. But no, good for him. He just look, they've seen something in him, right? We've seen glimpses of him, but they know they've got a player on their hands, Liverpool.
Yeah.
And what better way than just to look at Lamine Yamal? I'm not saying he's going to be as good as him, but he was lighting it up in the Champions League last year at 17 years old. So maybe that's who he sort of looks up to and thinks he can be like.
I'd just like to see him in a big match, an atmosphere,
Yeah.
an environment where he's playing against some of the best defenders in the world,
Hmm.
um, just for a moment. Because I always thought this about Ben Doak as well before he left. I'd love to see him come on in a match against a proven defender. And I remember when Ben Doak just completely sat down Luca Dean with a body feint on the right wing in the final moments against Aston Villa one match, and I just thought, goodness, this guy is going to be insane. And now he's gone.
Yeah.
I don't know if we put a buyback clause in his contract. I can't remember off the top of
I
my
think
head,
we
but
did.
if
I
we
think we
have,
did. I think
okay,
we did.
that makes me feel a bit better. Because that man is going to go on to great things.
But when you
So I'd
think
like to.
that we sold him when you think we sold him for 25 million and yet we sold Harvey Elliott for 35 million, like there's more than a 10 million difference between those two players. I feel, but
There's got to
it,
be a sell-on clause. There
yeah,
has to be.
it's just a weird one. I just think Liverpool have been so good at their business all summer, and I feel like they've sort of rushed to get Harvey out the door on the last day and just accepted the first offer that was thrown at them.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, there were links of him going to Tottenham Hotspur as well, I
Hmm.
suppose. But
That would have been good.
um,
I'd quite like to have seen him there, to be honest, under a good
yeah, it
manager.
would that would make
Um,
sense. Yes, we'll take a short break now, and then we'll talk about some of the other stories that have been happening around Liverpool Football Club. But first, it's time for you to hear from our sponsors, Bioniq.
Your body is unique. And Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
So, in the wake of the deadline day drama that we had a couple of days ago, apparently Mark Gay is extremely unhappy after being denied a move to Liverpool at the last minute and feels he behaved correctly by continuing to play for Palace before they pulled the plug on that deal. And also, there are reports from Ed Aarons from the Guardian newspaper that he is planning to release a statement soon too. Um, Now, I'm not sure what he's hoping to achieve by releasing this statement, Tom, because the deadline day is shut. And yes, he did behave professionally, and he didn't get any success from doing so, which is, it's quite unfair on him, to be honest. But why release a statement?
yeah, I guess at the end of the day, there will be people out there that want to know what's happened and what better way to hear it than from the person themselves.
Yeah,
That's the only reason I could think. I don't think he'll be throwing anyone under the bus. I think maybe he'll just be clarifying what's gone on. Maybe because we've gone on to an international break now, and he might not get the chance for 2 weeks to explain what's gone on. With the power of social media, that we've seen it with statements from all sorts of players trying to force moves and all this stuff all summer.
mm.
Um, I did interestingly, someone at work today showed me has a friend who's sort of in and around Palace. That's all he said. He's sort of in and around Palace, and he had a screenshot of a statement that was actually from Gahey if he was going to leave, and basically he was going to go up on his social media, and it was like thank him for all the memories they made, special times. He'll always have a place in his heart
Yeah,
for
of
Palace,
course.
but sort of that generic stuff, and obviously the video that
Yeah, the
screenshots of the
package.
video of it said like thank you Skip and all. So I believe this thing was quite real, and it was
Yeah,
like sort of
no,
like an image and yeah.
I saw the whole video. The whole video was leaked. It wasn't just
Oh right, okay.
screenshots. The
I only saw
entire thing.
screenshots. Interesting. Okay, I
Yeah,
didn't
no,
know the
so the
whole video.
entire video was released. It was like compilations of him, laughing around his teammates, celebrating on the open top bus parade after winning the FA Cup last season. All of the great memories. It was a really emotional package. And then for all of this to be ready to be launched, and then for that to be pulled from him in the last minute with Oliver Glasner, I don't know how reliable this story is, but apparently he was threatening to walk out if Mark Gay was to leave.
I
And
just
it just shows you how much of a mess they made that into, and I completely understand why he is upset.
there's no way a manager who's just got his team into Europe after winning the FA Cup and Community Shield is going to walk over one player, which has made it quite clear from all summer without being acting unprofessionally that he obviously wanted to
Yeah,
move to Liverpool. Also, if you're other players in that squad, how would you feel that your manager's walked out on you because one player's left? Like
yeah, no, it's crazy.
it's. And I also read again, I don't know how true it was that apparently Steve Parish was in a fitness class until 6 p.m. And
I
got
saw
out
this as well. Yeah.
and I don't know the full story. I don't want to say things, but I think he said something like he got out of a fitness class and after 6 o'clock and then they realised they basically not signed a replacement, so he called the deal off. I mean,
There's
he
no
must
way
have
he
been sat
wasn't.
waiting for hours after his medical on his news, and
Yeah.
now he's got to go away with England and then go back to that Palace squad. Like that, it's probably come at a bad time, right? Because you probably just want to get back to your Palace teammates, explain what's happened, and get straight back into it. But they're going to sit on that for like 2 weeks now, and then they've all got to meet up after being away with their sort of their own countries, and now I'm worried that we're going to be rivaled by other teams. You know, if a Madrid or someone come in next year for him for free, are you going to say no? Probably not. You never say no to Madrid,
It's
regardless of
it's
how good
it's hard. I mean, I can't see Madrid coming in for him, to be honest. And he's always made it quite clear that he wants to go to Liverpool as well. I also heard on Talksport. This is from quite a reliable source. On Talksport, they had someone in that was well informed of everything going on. Apparently, Gay, after completing his medical and having the meeting with Parish, all of this, all which was going on at the time, there was a black cab outside of the building with its hazards light on, waiting for him to go up to Liverpool.
that.
And
Yeah, that's what I read. I read that there's sort of some senior people from Liverpool got down and were going to go back with him at sort of 6, half 6. If that was going to drive up or fly up, I don't know what they were going to do. But
well, maybe the
yeah, so
cab was to
it was
take
all
him to the
sounding like
airport.
it's all sounding like it was in place. Yeah, the medical was obviously booked down in London. They had the documents ready, like everything was in place. And look, Palace have the right, and fair play to them, they've managed to keep hold of him. But from a player's point of view, and mentally as well, from a player's point of view, that can't be good.
Yeah. By the way, that is a reliable source because it's come from Fabrizio Romano. Glasner told Crystal Palace he was going to resign if they accepted to still sell Gay without a new signing.
Well,
It's just
they've missed out on more money now than they would have done with letting Glasner go. I'll tell you. So
yeah.
maybe they were worried.
Maybe that's what swayed it. That's what
Yeah.
must have swayed it because you lose your captain and you lose your manager both on the last day of the transfer window. But this isn't unusual for Palace. They always wait until the final stages of the transfer window to sign their players. And it's not sustainable. And now it's created this internal mess in the club. I'm very interested to see if Gay does release a statement. Obviously, he's with the England squad at the moment, preparing for the matches against Andorra and Serbia. But my question is, do you think it will see the same Mark Gay this season? Do you think he'll
Yeah,
be deterred
yeah.
by everything going off the pitch, or do you think he might not even play?
No, I think no, he will. I think he's too professional. We've seen that from him during this transfer window and as a player over the last few seasons. I think he's too professional to let something like that affect him. Obviously, it will always be in the back of your mind. He's human at the end of the day, so yeah, it's
Yeah.
going to play on him. But he's captain of a side that are playing in conference, Europa Conference League football, and he's got a job to do. If he wants to get paid still from Palace, he's got to do that job. But let's see what happens in January, right? We either poach him in January
Yeah.
or he signs a pre-agreement. I don't know how it all works, but we could still get
Yeah.
him in
Would you
January, right?
rather?
Like 20 million in
Yeah.
January, 25 million in January. I know that's a lot for a player that's got 6 months left at that point, but at least he's yours then. Do you know what I mean? Just pay the
But it's
25
15
million.
million less than we were going to pay anyway.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I
And
think
he's
that would.
yours. And then you've got him for the important run-in the rest of the season. Look, January's what are we in now? September, so it's only 3-4 months away.
Yeah.
So if you can
And
just hold
and
on for
also
those for that time.
also I wanted to ask you if you're a Crystal Palace player and you're seeing this entire saga go on with your captain, and now things are coming out that he's upset, very upset that he couldn't leave the club. Does that not become terrible for the team dressing room?
No, because I think Liverpool's a step up, right? Like if Palace were at the top and he was going down, then maybe because you'd be like, why would you want to leave a top club? But Palace is Liverpool on a whole another 2 levels than Crystal Palace, right? I know they've done us
Yeah.
in the Community Shield, but forget that. But it's like with Newcastle, the fans crying over Isak. You are not the top team. You are not the top team. City, Liverpool, and Arsenal, and maybe Chelsea at the moment, are a whole nother level or two up from where you are, regardless if you're playing Champions League football or not. You are not the top team in the country. And so, the same goes with Palace. They're good and they've got a good setup. But if I tell you who I'd be, I tell you, if you're Walton, if you're Adam Walton or Mateta, you're thinking, well, I'm probably going to get a big move in the next year or two. Is this behaviour from Palace going to affect me? Right, like Adam Walton is not going to be at Palace forever, right? He's going to get his move to one of the big sides. In fact, it ends up being Arsenal, Spurs, City, whatever. I'm surprised no one really came in for Mateta this year, but he's probably one of their bigger assets as well. You've got Ismail Assar, who could probably potentially move on. I know he's at Watford and whatever, but
I doubt that, to be
no,
honest.
yeah,
I don't think he'd be
they're
enough.
probably their two big assets are probably Walton and definitely Adam.
But I understand your point about players wanting to move up, so that is quite a good point.
Yeah,
Last thing I wanted to speak about, and this is completely different from what we've been speaking about, important things going on at the club. This is something off the pitch that is absolute class, and that's from Mo Salah. Anfield Edition, the Twitter page, puts a graphic up saying, name a bigger upgrade in footballing history. It shows a picture of Luis Diaz and Darwin Nunez at the top in black and white after leaving. And then it's got a picture of Florian Wirtz and Alexander Isak below them signing for Liverpool. Name a bigger upgrade in footballing history is the caption. Mo Salah replies, how about we celebrate the great signings without disrespecting the Premier League champions? How powerful of a statement is that from Mo Salah? Because you don't
go on,
really.
sorry,
He
carry
doesn't
on.
strike me as. I was just saying he doesn't really strike me as someone who would look at this sort of thing with a lot of. He doesn't seem to me as someone who would look at these articles on Twitter, and then for him to put a statement out like that, it's such a good reminder that these footballers can see the stuff that these hooligans on Twitter are posting.
Maybe that's why he's done it. Maybe he's just seen enough now, and regardless of what you thought about Nunez or Diaz, he's right. Like, they're Premier League champions, and at the moment, there is no upgrade. All right, we spent a lot of money, but Wirtz is not hit the ground running, and we haven't even seen Isak play a minute for Liverpool yet. So, talk about an upgrade. All right, yes, I know they probably will be an upgrade, but currently, right now, you can't call them upgrade because Diaz and Nunez
It's
did their
preempting
jobs
it.
for Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? Diaz and Liverpool have done their jobs for Liverpool. Diaz and Nunez have done their jobs for Liverpool. And Nunez, look, it didn't work out. We know what happened there. We got some money for him, fine. We've also got some decent money for Diaz for a 28-year-old with 2 years left on his contract. So,
Who, by the way, is looking phenomenal at Bayern at the
exactly.
moment.
So that's these pages, these fan pages, not just Liverpool, but all these football fan pages, just really need to think sometimes about what they're doing, because it does affect. As you can see, like Mo Salah has responded, and if you're that account, you're probably buzzing because Salah's retweeted your post. But at the same time, these players do see this stuff, and it can not affect them on the pitch, but just remember what Diaz and Nunez had done. Regardless of what you thought of them, they were game winners for us at some points, and Diaz really, scored a lot of goals for us last season that probably ultimately helped us win the league. So I just think all these fan accounts just need to relax and just enjoy the football that's being played and just report on any news and matches.
I've never understood people who slander Diaz, by the way. I mean, slandering any player outwardly on Twitter for everyone to see who you are, I just think that's ridiculous in the first place.
And also,
because,
and
yes,
their
we're football fans.
their credibility as an account now, because Liverpool's greatest player in the last 5-10 years has sort of dissed you on X. Like, the credibility as an account now, you're just going to be like, well, why would I want to follow that?
Exactly. I mean, I don't look at these football pages anyway because Twitter's just an absolute cesspit of horrible people. But I do really think that Diaz was a terrific player, and even if he wasn't, for you to outwardly by the way, this account is verified on Twitter, so more people can see their posts because that's what Elon Musk did to that app. For you to post that online, making an agenda against a player is not great. Yes, we're all fans of the sport. Yes, there are some players that we're all guilty of slandering, but you do not need to diss one in order to like the other.
Yeah.
It's like, do you like apples? Oh, so you hate oranges, sort of thing. It's just stupid. And Mo Salah, he's always been a class act, hasn't he?
Yeah.
More people should learn from him as he just makes a great example for an ambassador of the sport. He's just a man who gets on with it and sets the examples for everyone else. He is the level that people aspire to become, and that's both his football ability and just him as a person off the pitch, because he calls stuff out, and that's what I love about him.
Yeah, exactly. And you just summed it up perfectly, to be honest. I don't think I could put that in any better words. The thing with Salah is he's active on social media, but he never writes captions on his Instagram posts or anything. And obviously he retweeted that thing the other week about the player that was killed, sort of outing at UEFA, I think it was, wasn't it?
Oh, in like the Palestinian player, yeah.
And obviously he's done this, so maybe this is sort of a new mode where he's just going to start calling out stuff he doesn't like because he's had enough of staying silent.
He's achieved it all, no one's going to challenge him on anything. He's basically like the king calling things out.
Yeah, exactly.
that's what it is, but it's in the football world. I feel like he's achieved so much in his career now that he feels like he doesn't have to take things as seriously when it comes to towing the line. And I absolutely love that. And on that nice positive note at the end from Salah, I think we'll end the podcast there. I was worried before we started recording this, Tom, that we wouldn't have enough to talk about to make a full episode, but we've actually gone 2 minutes over.
I told you that's all stuff to talk about.
Yeah, it always just works out that way, doesn't it? So you've been listening to the Daily Liverpool podcast on the Global Sports Podcast Network. We'll see you in the next one.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.